Hi guys, I'm going to read to you from Thunder Cave. I will do a chapter a day and post it on my YouTube channel. So today is chapter 4. Sam and I didn't talk much over the next several days. He was preoccupied with preparations. He sorted through papers, packed boxes, and talked quietly on the phone. I went to school, checked the mailbox, and hung around, thinking that my father might call, but he didn't. Sam came into my bedroom one night and said that he had to go out of town for a few days. An anthropology meeting in Chicago, he said. When I get back, we'll make the final arrangements for your trip to Nebraska. He handed me a stack of red tags. Some people were here today to look at our things. Next week, they'll take the stuff to auction. You'll need to pack your bedroom. Mark what you want to keep with these tags. It's a good time to get rid of the things you don't really use. Make a clean slate of it. Early the next morning, he left for his trip. I didn't say goodbye, nor did he. From the bedroom, I heard the door shut, then looked out the window and watched him climb into the back of a taxicab. I made breakfast and got ready for school. On the hallway table, Sam had left me 3 20s and a note. Jacob, this ought to cover your food while I'm gone. Don't forget to pack. Sam. Very warm, Sam. I pocketed the money and left for school. Halfway there, I stopped my bike. What was the point? In a couple of weeks, I'd be in Nebraska and have to finish the school year there. I decided to ride over to Central Park and use my pass to get into the zoo. The best time to visit the zoo is in the morning. The animals are more active, more themselves. My father had helped design several of the exhibits in the zoo. We used to spend a lot of time there together. I wandered around looking at the animals. He was right. Without a throng of people watching them, the animals seemed to move around more naturally. The polar bears were gliding through the water. The birds seemed at ease, their calls echoing as they flew through the tropical house. Because of my father, I knew most of the animals' scientific names. Animals have common names and secret names. It was a game we played when I was younger. Polar bears were Ursus martimus. Golden lion tamarins were Leonopithecus rosalia. The leaf-nosed bats they had were Philostimidae carolia. I loved the zoo, and when my father worked there, I would visit every day after school. My father had mixed feelings about the zoo. I think he worked there because it was the closest he could come to wildlife in New York City. There's nothing the matter with the zoos, Jake. They're a good thing. But we sometimes get so focused on taking care of the animals that we forget why we have them. Each animal should tell a story about what is happening to it in the wild. If we fail in that, then we have no right to keep them in cages. The zoo exhibits didn't look like cages. They looked natural with plants, rocks, pools, and streams. None of the exhibits had bars to hold the animals in. Instead, they used hidden moats, glass, and thin, almost invisible wire. They're still cages, Jake. No matter how pretty we make them, a cage is a cage. We all live in cages of some kind or another. Some are spacious and have everything a person could want. Others are small and have hardly anything in them. Barely enough to get by. The big difference between cages are the barriers that keep us in them. Poverty, wealth, religion, hatred, jealousy, bitterness, responsibility, addiction. These are the bars that keep us locked in the cages. There are times when we are free to break through the barriers, but we rarely do. We grow comfortable in our cages. They're all we know. After walking through the zoo, I got back on my bike and rode through the park. It was overcast but not raining. People sat on benches, joggers ran along the paths. An old woman muttered to herself as she pushed a shopping cart stuffed with everything she owned. Some of the walls were covered with brightly colored graffiti. To me, this is the only true art of our century. In a few thousand years, anthropologists like your mother will be trying to figure out what these paintings mean. Modern cave paintings, 21st century petroglyphs. When I got home, the mailman was stuffing letters into the apartment's mailbox. Do you have anything for Lanza? I asked. Sure do, he said, and handed me a short stack of mail. I recognized the letter from my father right away. It was in a Wildlife Research Institute envelope, and like the last few letters I had received from him, it was taped as if it had been opened and resealed. I didn't want to read it in the lobby. I wheeled my bike into the elevator and punched the button for our floor. I went into the apartment and sat on the couch. The letter was dated 2 weeks before my mother died. February 18th. Jake, this is probably going to be the last letter you get for a while. In fact, I hope you get this letter. I hear there's been some problem with the mail lately. The drought has all but ruined the country. Poachers are slaughtering the animals. They're using sophisticated weapons and equipment, and they're backed by big money. People are starving to death and dying of AIDS. The Institute is probably going to close down, though we need to be here now more than ever. If we pull out, there may be nothing to come back to. I'm going to stay on as long as I can, but I don't want you or your mother to worry. I'm perfectly fine out here. The rains will come eventually, and when they do, many of the problems will be washed away. This is not the first or last time a drought has been here. The difference now is that there are more people here than ever before. There's simply not enough food to go around. I'm making this short so I can get it onto the truck going to Nairobi. Again, don't worry about me. I'll write when I can. All my love, Dad. I read the letter several times. Each time through, I tried to imagine what he was leaving out. Look at the white space, Jake, the blanks. Sometimes it's the things we can't see and don't hear that are the most important. My father repeated this often, and for years it was a meaningless riddle to me, but I had learned that there might be something to it. Listen carefully to the words people are saying, then later go back over what they said and try to imagine what they didn't say, and ask yourself why they left these things out. This took a lot of time, and I had to really concentrate, but when I took the time to see and hear what wasn't there, I reached a deeper understanding. Dad was right about that. The white space of my father's letter told me that he was frustrated and angry. I had seen him this way many times. My mother understood him. He's in one of his moods. I guess we can be thankful he's a biologist and not a policeman. He would think nothing of stepping in front of a bullet to save someone, and when he was in one of his moods, he did rash things. I was very worried about him. But what could I do? My only hope was that he would get the message we had left about my mom and come back to the States. Still holding the letter, I picked up the phone and dialed the Wildlife Refuge Institute in Kenya. It took a long time to connect. Jumbo, a man answered. Hi, I'm trying to reach Dr. Robert Lanza. Who? Robert Lanza. Yes, one moment, please. There was the muffled sound of people speaking in the background. Hello? A woman's voice. She sounded American. I was disappointed. For a moment, I thought my dad might actually be there. This is Jacob Lanza, I said. I'm looking for my father. I know, the woman said. It must have been the same woman Sam had spoken to before my mom's funeral. We're looking for him too. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to find him. He's out in the bush. Is he all right? I think so, she said. I'm sure he's fine. We've lost communication with the area he's in. We're trying to get word to him. When do you think you might be able to reach him? It's hard to say, she said. We'll keep trying. I heard that the Institute was closing down. She hesitated. Well, that's true, but we'll be back when things get better here. What about my father? Again, she hesitated before answering. I'm sure he's gotten word by now. He's probably tying up some loose ends, and then he'll be in. Could you please tell him to call Jacob when he gets a chance? Certainly. There's been a problem here, and I need to talk to him. I understand. I was sorry to hear the news. He'll be in touch as soon as he can, so try not to worry. Thanks. I hung up. It's the things we can't see and don't hear that are the most important. The woman was afraid. My father was in danger. I went to my bedroom and opened my desk drawer. I took out my savings account book and my passport. I had gotten the passport 3 years ago for a trip to Sweden with my mom. I looked at the photograph. I looked a lot older now. I wouldn't need a passport in Nebraska, but I wasn't going to Nebraska. Okay, so that is chapter 4. So tune in tomorrow for chapter 5.